about 450 insurance inspectors across Ontario, and we went to the OMI headquarters, beautiful building in Cambridge, and we addressed them for several days. We even went out and visited about a dozen sites. There must be close to 1,000 installs in the Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge area. So we were able to go out and see them. And while we were doing this, the OMIA then started to become concerned about lightning control, lightning arrestation. And as most of you know, we have a CSA code, a lightning code, and we also have an organization called the Ontario Fire Marshals. And there's also an Ontario Fire Marshal code. And that code's about 50 pages, and the CSA code's about 80 pages. And the national code from CSA is totally different than the Ontario Fire Marshal's code. So you have to know both. And now we've got the insurance companies concerned about, well, we need to really have lightning control on all these jobs because it's metal up on the top of a roof and 100,000 volts at 50,000 amps could have damage and burn the building down. And so in our lectures to the OMIA people, we included the whole issue of lightning because in many parts of the world, lightning control is required on the solar system, particularly in California, most of Europe, and many parts of the USA. And lightning arrestation is an issue, and it's important. Beyond bonding and grounding, they're now talking about it. So this area right now, I can tell you with OMIA, is pretty serious. And they're coming up with some new revelations. They have full-time people now looking into this because insurance companies, they don't like risk. And they also don't climb roofs. The local city authorities don't climb roofs either. So we got involved with both these organizations to prepare a checklist. What should they be looking for when they are going around after a job has been professionally approved, the dealer's installed it, what do we do about approving this? So we generated a checklist, 25 points. Structural checklist, electrical checklist, and in some cases where we're doing solar thermal, and you've got hot water on the roof, you've got plumbing checklist and pump checklist. So that's all available. If any of you are interested in talking to me later, we can provide that documentation to you. While all this was going on, we had the banks jump in. Now I've been involved in our class, in our school with geothermal for the last 20 years. And we teach geothermal, and we get involved with the authorities, the CGEC, Canadian Geo Exchange Coalition, and the OMIA got involved in this as well because they got involved in the solar thermal on a roof as well. But meanwhile, the banks, the TD Bank, about 7 years ago, started financing geothermal. Along came after them the Bank of Montreal. And now we have the Royal Bank. So they're all involved. And I was talking to a banker recently, and they've come to some of our courses, and they said, well, we don't know whether we really want to finance this if it hasn't been properly insured. And now we've got insurance companies in Ontario that won't insure solar. Some will, some won't. Some are backing right off. Cooperators will insure. They maybe put a $60 a month premium on, or maybe it's $150. The whole insurance industry right now is in a bit of a gray area. But I can assure you within the next few months, they're going to be on board and you're going to see lightning control requirements. And what's that going to cost? Well, I can take you to a dozen jobs now in Eastern Ontario. They're all full of lightning control, full arrestation. There are 2 or 3 companies in Ontario who do nothing but lightning installs. One of them is Dominion Lightning in Dundas. They've been in business 104 years, and they do a lot of farm buildings. Now, the Eastern Ontario group are now very much involved. There's a lot of solar going on in Eastern Ontario. There have been a lot of problems. There have been a lot of pedestal mounts in Northern Ontario. Out of 450 that I know of that have been installed in Northern Ontario, I think 75 of them have folded over. They haven't been properly engineered. There's a proper engineering mount for a solar mount. You're looking at a single post, 12 inches in diameter, holding 2 tons of material, and it has to be properly inserted in the ground, not just in an 8-foot deep sono tube. It has to be engineered properly, and that's all available. So now the banks are beginning to say, well, if the OMIA aren't going to insure it, and the professional engineer doesn't know what he's doing, and then the dealer's stuck in the middle, and the owner, meanwhile, has a problem with all of these organizations. So the upshot of all this right now is that the banks are taking a long, careful look whether they want to insure or not. And it's a good deal for them because right now the Bank of Montreal is going in at 2.8 above prime, 100% guaranteed because they have a lien on it anyway, probably through the first mortgage. Meanwhile, the OMIA have their inspectors who are now hiring organizations to do their inspections for them, to go up on the roof. So the owner, meanwhile, is involved in all of this and is responsible for it all. The local engineering organization, in many cases, what they design is never what goes in. I don't know of any engineering job I've ever worked on that was always installed the way